whenever we want.
Sure.
John Bolin.
What's up,
I
everybody?
am at First Baptist Church. Okay, what you got? We're at First Baptist Church, Houston, Texas. He's interviewing me for his. Let's help them, tell them what we're doing. He's interviewing me for his podcast. He has an audio podcast which he records right here with this gentleman,
Josh.
Josh
Harris.
This is Josh. You can't see Josh. See, this is Josh. He's over here with a complete computer and a. Here we are, and it's a podcast for worship leaders.
That's right. Worship leaders and worship teams. So anybody who has anything to do with church music, the arts, things like that, we really try to minister to those guys.
So I'm going to help him if I can figure
do.
out. Is this on Facebook or YouTube? This
That's
is YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where would my live
Maybe we should share.
feed be? Where do you refresh? Where's the?
Let's just
right
click
here.
it. There you go.
See if it comes up.
There
There
you
we
go.
are. See, we're gonna have this on.
Awesome.
So we can see the. Just mute that.
Uh-huh.
So we can see comments. You might have a question or a comment for John or me, and
We'll see it
I
right there.
think they come up over here.
Okay, perfect.
So like hello, let me say hello to some
Sure,
people.
sure.
Hello, Karen Calabrese, Donna Thompson, Christina Galiel, Stephen Gregg. I hope you're having a good Wednesday.
Awesome.
And so we're going to get started. This is a podcast called
Friends of First Worship.
Friends of First
That's
Worship.
right. And it's going to be
And
awesome.
I guess you can hear good. I hope you can. But anyway, this is kind of cool. I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for your time today, brother. I appreciate it so much. All right, Josh, you ready, brother? So we're just jumping in, okay? And we'll record the intro later.
Oh, yeah.
So no big deal. So we're jumping
Right.
in. So today we're talking about platform presence. You know, we have a large audience that listen to the Friends of First Worship podcast that are on the platform all the time. They're connecting with people all the time, whether it's not just one or two people, but groups of people. And that's been
Right.
so much of your ministry, of course. And I think it'd be very interesting, Mark, to start with just hearing a little bit of your background, how you got into doing what you have done. You have, ministered from the platform for years and years and are master at it. Tell us just a little bit about that story. And I know the people on YouTube probably may have heard this or maybe not, so I think it's interesting. What's
Well,
the background?
in 1970, while I was in college studying a business, I wanted to be a businessman. The Lord spoke to me. And for a Baptist to say that, I mean it. Because the Lord doesn't speak to us audibly. The Pentecostals have hogged all of that. We have to walk by faith. But I'm telling you, the Lord spoke to me. And he said, why won't you do what I want you to do? And I said, I can just give you the cliff notes. I said, I'll do whatever you want. I started talking to him like this was normal. And he sounded a lot like me. So I don't know. I think it was him, but he had a Texas accent. And I heard
Which
him,
we believe in here in Houston that he does
exactly.
have one.
But I really sensed the Lord say, why won't you do what? And I'd never heard that before. And I said, Lord, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And he said, even if it means going to music? And I said, well, you've never mentioned that. But yeah, I'll do that. And so I immediately switched from a business degree to a youth degree at Liberty Baptist College because that was the easiest way out. If you had an IQ of a turnip, you could get that degree. And so I said, now that I know what I'm going to do, I want to get this part of my journey done so I can be about the next chapters. And the Lord started opening doors, and I started singing and traveling with an evangelist in college. And then we'd go out afterwards and eat with all the people, and I'd tell stories around the table, you know how you do.
Yeah.
And then one day we had a wreck where he was in a coma. I broke 11 bones. It broke up our team, and I started traveling by myself. And I had to do something while the little old man in the back of the church changed the soundtracks, which were on cassette tapes. Yeah.
And they had to move the little
I have
round.
queued them up so I forgot about that.
So done that. We grew up as kind of the Von Trapp family style singers, the Bolin family, right?
Yeah.
We had 7 children, so we would travel. That's how we ate as kids. You'd go to potluck, and from church to church, and that was my job, is to queue up those cassettes.
Because you don't want that 30 seconds
No,
of
it's
silence
terrible.
once they hit play.
That's terrible.
Well, those few seconds of a little old man, when you're alone, you don't have a son to change the tracks
Yes,
for
right,
you.
right.
You wait for that little old man to do it. and they always get somebody, back in that day, they'd have somebody about 10 years older than God running the sound. So when you tell him to turn it up, he'd stick his finger in his ear and turn up his hearing aid. But anyway, so I started talking, and I noticed that, because I could see the people. This is not a Gaither concert where you can't see the audience. You in a Baptist church normally used to, not anymore, because they
every light in the room was on.
oh,
right?
every light's on. You can see the people. You can see the shine off the bald heads, and I loved that. I could watch them, and I'm analyzing them. I don't even know personally what I'm gonna do until I get on stage. Now I wouldn't suggest
Now,
this.
we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest this for a minister of music, but I have made programs, and then once I see the audience, everything changes. I mean, once we meet, and I don't know how that works. I wish I knew how that worked. I don't have a formula for that, and I wouldn't suggest it unless you've done it many, many times already.
Well, I want to come back to that because
Okay.
that's so fascinating to me. Wow. All right, so then, then tell us how you kind of got with the Gaither Vocal Band, and how did that all begin? And
Well, from 1980 to 1988, I was in about 200 independent Baptist churches a year, living for the day I could break into the Southern Baptist market.
and what a market is.
Oh, I wanted the big churches to know me
Yes.
too. And I was real driven back then. I'm not driven anymore. I'm 60. It's time to not be driven. But I would travel in these churches. What was the question again?
Tell us how you got
Oh,
involved.
so from 1980 to 1988, I traveled to those churches. Roy Morgan, who was booking me, who also now owns, he's moved on to greatness. Roy Morgan promotes the Winter Jams. He owns all that. He owns all that. Premier Productions. Well, he started with me. We were both graduates of Liberty.
I did not know that.
And he was.
I didn't even know you were going to talk so much Liberty. I got my Liberty, sweater on.
I went back in the day when it was
college,
really.
right?
It was a college, and we were pioneers. We loved it. Of course, I'd never been to college. What did I know? I didn't know this wasn't college, but it was really a glorified high school back then. But anyway, so and then Roy Morgan gave a videotape I'd made to Bill Gaither, and at the same time, I got on a Monday morning at Estes Park.
Yeah. Wow.
And the sound man was Bill Gaither's sound man. He comes home and Bill says, "Did you hear anything interesting at Estes?" He said, "Well, this kid got up on Monday morning and he, did good." And so he got it from two angles. Gary McSpadden was leaving. It's all timing.
Yeah, it is.
When you wait on God's timing, it's perfect.
Well, and what a great story and tragic story about the wreck. But even that, how God can use that to send you on a path. I've never heard that part of your story before.
There's a part I want to tell that happened 6 months before Estes. Okay, Estes Park was the gold ring. Estes Park. If you can make it there, you'll make it anywhere. It is our New York City. It is in gospel music in the 80s. Sandy Patty, Amy Grant, everybody, all the stars went there. And during the daytime, they had classes where you could go and learn how to write music. So I went to all of it. I paid my registrant fee, and for years I'd go and I'd stand in the peripheral with all the registrants. All the people in the middle, that's where the artists sat.
Right.
The stars were there, and all the wannabes were out here. And I was a wannabe. But I'd sit there and listen to them, and I'd hear them sing, and I'd think, I can't out-sing any of them, but I can out-talk all of them. And so I knew where my gift was.
Wow.
So, but I'm sitting there, so a friend of mine, Lynn Barrington, and if she's watching, I still give her the credit. God used her this day. We were at the Moustache Cafe in Los Angeles.
What?
The Moustache, they call it Moustache instead of Mustache.
That's awesome.
And we were having dinner, and I was still complaining about, why can't I get a word recording contract? Why can't I get on at Estes Park? I'm doing 200 concerts a year, blah, blah, complain. And she looked at me and said, "You know what your problem is? You got wannabe tattooed on your forehead, and they can smell you coming." And she said, "And you know what? You're doing 200 concerts a year. And when's the last time you were grateful? How many people on that stage would give their right arm at Estes to have 200 concerts a year. Man, she held a mirror up to me. I turned like a dime. I've never repented that fast in my life. I mean, and it wasn't like I got on my knees, oh God, forgive me. It's like, golly, are you right?
Yeah, that's right.
Why would I want to be this? And I said, no, God, thank you. I got 200 concerts a year. I'm blessed. And so I went from complaining to being grateful. Number one, that was the first step. And then within 6 months, I'm booked to sing at Estes Park, the goal that I'd always wanted.
Just like
Okay? So I have the attitude, and she also said this to me, which I don't know if I should even repeat, but she said, your attitude when you get on that stage should be screw you and the horse you rode in on. Whether y'all like me or not, I'm going to tell you what I've come to tell you, and I'm going to the camp that's waiting on me in Georgia when I get off this stage. And my attitude wasn't like, but my attitude was, Dad, I am going to speak truth to y'all.
Just be who you are.
And be who I am. And if you like me, I hope you do. But if you don't, I got a camp waiting on me. Well, my attitude was that. I got a standing ovation, I got the word recording contract, and I got the Gaither vocal band, which I didn't even want. That was something, that was like God threw that in as a bonus. All I wanted was a solo contract. Well, God threw the vocal band in, and that made everything.
Right.
It's like God's ways are bigger. It's like someone said somewhere, God's ways are bigger than our ways.
Isaiah 55, man. That's right. His ways are not our ways. Thoughts are as high as the heavens are above the earth.
And so when I look back to that day, I think the Lord spoke to me. I do believe it was Him. Because the journey, I cannot imagine being a businessman. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow.
Did I answer the question?
You did.
You carried me down a path I hadn't been down in a while.
No, I love it. I love it. And through your, has it been 16, 17 years with the vocal band?
Well,
No,
I was
two
with
different times.
I was with them the first time 13 years, went away for 7. Bill says, okay, I'm putting together a super group, and he said, Michael English is coming back, and I always said, if he ever comes back, you got to make room for me, because I'm coming too.
Yeah.
Because that was the best blend we ever had. My favorite blend we ever had was me, Michael, and Terry Franklin. And that was the first group. And you know, it's sort of like your first.
Yeah.
Maybe that was why it was so special.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't feel like we ever blended like that. That blend was like one voice. Sometimes I would stop singing because I would literally forget which part was mine. And then I'd stop and hear the whole and go back in. You know, because it was amazing. I'd never experienced that before. I'd never been in a group.
That's special days, man. There's no question. Okay, so let's dig into some of these questions.
Okay.
You know, you, with all of that experience, you've worked with thousands and thousands of, you know, groups, audiences from literally all across the world.
Yeah.
So here's what we're looking at.
Yeah, just looking to make sure we're
I love it. I love it.
We were like, hey everybody. Hello, love this. Thanks for sharing. Okay, Shirlene Stahl. We're watching you. We're trying to watch and do his podcast at the same time. Of course, they'll edit his part later. We got a Brenda. Hello, Brenda. What'd she say? I want your 2013. I just heard you talk about God and you did not. I'm right. I just hear you. Oh, I'm sorry, Brenda. Good Lord. I didn't realize that. Well, I'm glad I read that comment. Now I'm depressed. I'm sorry, Brenda.
Well, let me try to bring it up.
Okay.
And I should say this: congratulations on your new Dove Award.
Oh, thank you.
Southern Gospel Album of the Year. That's exciting.
That
man.
was what an honor.
You gifted that to me not too long ago, and it's wonderful. I mean that. I
thought you meant the Dove Award.
No.
You ain't getting my Dove Award.
That's something that's special. No, you gave it to me. We were at your house one day.
Did you listen to it?
I did. It's wonderful.
Good.
What's not to know, man? Love that song.
What's not to love?
What's not to love? That's right.
What's not to know would be a good title.
There you go. There's your next album. I'm just giving it to you right there. Just giving it to you. So as we're talking about today, you just said, I'm going to go back to what you said in your little time of sharing there. Knowing your audience, boy, what an interesting idea and hard thing to grasp for so many. You know, when you go in, it's completely different than last night. For the worship leader who has the same audience, right, who has the same group of people, but it's really not the same group of people. We like to think every Sunday, no, it's not. In fact, the statistics now are people now most of the time go 1 or twice a month. So even if you lead that service every week, you're getting a brand new audience every single week.
And it can feel, for me, what I do is so different from what you do in the sense that I'm never at the same place twice,
Right.
except maybe every 2 years.
Right.
Sometimes if I am in a theater for more than 1 or 2 nights, it can really freak me out because I'll think, I've already said this.
Right.
Because I'm in the same room and I can't remember because I do a different program. You know, it's never exactly the same. So I thought, oh my gosh, I've already said this. Sometimes I'll ask them, hey, did I already tell you all about this? You know, and pass it off that I'm 60. But as far as knowing your audience, I don't know. I know this. When I do a banquet, which is very rare, don't call me to do your banquet, please, because I hate doing them. You don't know the audience. They're not there for you. They're there for whatever the banquet's about, which is great.
Right.
And so you've got to introduce yourself. You've got to let them know you. You can't start from, oh, we already know each other.
Yeah.
When I do a ticketed concert, I take it for granted that everybody who bought a ticket knows what's coming.
Yeah, right.
And knows to be shocked and not be shocked about it.
Yeah, right.
And
That's good.
so I don't have to introduce myself. I don't have to start with square one. I don't know how you have to. I don't know how that would play into your world, because do you have to start with
You
square
don't have to start
one
from square one, I think, because a lot of those people these are people you do life with every day, not just every Sunday. This is every day of the week. You know,
Right,
or you
right.
should, you
Yes.
know, as the disciple maker, right?
Right,
As we're
right.
doing. But at the same time, there's a lot of visitors that walk in, so you actually see it as both. You got people that are your friends. You're like, I have no
Yeah.
idea,
Well, I guess
and you've
that's-
never seen me before in your life. So you actually have to, if you want to use the more entertainment term of breaking your audience, you still have to do that or establish that interpersonal connection. Tell us how
That's
you
the
think
same,
about that.
because people bring their friends to my concerts.
Yeah,
They
sure.
don't know why, because
Sure.
I meet them afterwards. After the concert, I sit in a tall chair, so I'm eye level with everybody, but I at least get to sit, which is very important to me. And they come by and tell me their stories, shake my hand, sign whatever they want me to sign, take a picture. And so I get to hear their stories. Well, I meet a lot of people say, I've never heard of you before tonight. And I love hearing that,
Yes.
because it's so rare now. But, and it shouldn't be. I wish everybody, because I am really well unknown. I mean, we are not famous like, Michael Jackson was famous.
Yeah, right.
Right. Outside of the National Quartet Convention, I'm as anonymous as the next person. Seriously.
Yes.
Where sometimes I'll see other artists maybe get a little haughty with themselves, and I think, gosh, nobody knows you.
That's right.
But your little world.
Yeah.
And so if you keep that in perspective. But when I walk out, the first song that I do, I am examining them.
Yes.
And I'm looking everybody in the eye that I can, quickly. And I'm not thinking about this. I'm thinking about the song I'm singing.
Yeah, but it's so intuitive, I'm sure, at that
Yeah.
point, or just kind of.
It's like the first song is usually "What a Wonderful World," because everybody says the world's so awful. Well, I think it's pretty wonderful. Mine is pretty great. And so we start, and then I dance with somebody, which is always fun, especially if you're in a Baptist church. Because I was raised where you couldn't dance,
Yeah.
So I'll grab somebody out of there and start dancing with them, but all that time I'm checking things out, I think, and sensing, and then I start asking questions. How many Baptists are here? Then I make fun of the Baptists. How many Catholics? I make fun of Presbyterian, Methodist, Lutheran. I just find out, what am I dealing with? Sometimes, not all the time. But somehow, I don't know, the best thing I could tell you, I think, is number one, be yourself, be who you are. Don't have a preacher voice and a off the stage voice.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So good.
Don't say, let's pray, our Father God. I mean, first of all, if I were God and you were my kid and you come walking up to me with that voice, I'd slap it out of you. Talk to me like your daddy, not like I'm some,
That's good.
far off being. Come boldly into my presence, jump in my lap.
Mm.
Anyway, so I say, walk out, look at them, talk to them like they're your best friend and you're sitting on your back porch. It'd be cool if you had a story, a quick story about your kid this week, something that anybody can relate to. always have if you're going to have a story, it must be relatable.
Yes.
I would never tell a story about life on the bus. Would never. Because no one's ever been on the bus. Nobody's going to relate to that. I would never tell a story about anything like that.
Don't you think, I'm just analyzing what you said, but I think it's so really masterful, is you also are breaking down walls in those first few minutes. When you're talking about Baptist and kind of, it's breaking down those walls. When you're talking about, when you're getting someone to stand up and dance with you, it kind of puts everybody kind of like, well, this is going to be a little bit different tonight. You've even broken what is called the third wall, right? That audience
I hate
wall.
that wall.
You know, but you're breaking
I think
those
they
down.
call that the fourth wall.
Or fourth wall.
Fourth wall, yeah.
It
That's
depends how
where
big
you
you
bring
are.
in the audience.
I guess how big the stage
on the
is.
I can get my head through it, but you know,
Right, but
this
that's what
is
I'm saying.
not
You're
a
breaking-
show.
I think these preconceived ideas of what the evening or the event will be. You're trying to already start working on, so that when you tell a story, when you sing a song, all of a sudden you're working with a life that is relaxed. They're enjoying
They
it.
forget where they are maybe for a moment, and they let their walls down, and the story has captured them. I remember how it did me when I was a kid, when B.R. Lakin would come preach at our church. I mean, for the first 20 minutes, I was on the edge of my seat as he told stories about his life and his journey. And I mean, and I didn't even know I was in church. I was transported.
Yes.
And I want to transport people to the presence of the Lord if I'm a worship
Right.
leader.
That's right.
You know, and it's not a show. I'm just, it's sometimes, including my own church, it's so dark in there. You better get there early, turn your flashlight on, find your seat. You know, and there's so much smoke, it's like someone let the deacons loose or something. They're all smoking in the back. And I'm 60, and you got to take that into consideration. But don't you want to see who you're ministering to? Don't you want to look them in the eyes? And if you don't, why not?
That's right. That's right. I love that. So let me dig into what you're saying about the story, right? Because you're talking about, boy, that's where sweet spot is, I think, for you, the story. Talk to us about, how do you craft that, Mark? I mean, you're a masterful storyteller.
Well, you edit.
Talk to us about that process.
You edit. And the only way I know to edit is to tell it. You tell it, and what doesn't work, you leave out next time. You know, and what you think may work, and it may not.
So you edit it from the, in a sense, from the platform.
Oh, I'm on. Yeah, see, you don't get a second shot.
We don't.
I get
I
a second shot, a third shot, a fourth shot.
So you're constantly tweaking, just little this, little that.
Yeah,
See
that's how
they-
Gaither and I did it.
Yeah.
Because what would happen is I'd walk out stage and there'd be a pregnant pause, which I love. I love it.
Power
And he
of silence.
always left my microphone on. So, because you cannot say it, your mic's dead. The
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
then
you-
sees it,
you've
turns it
lost
up,
the
and
moment.
then
You've lost it.
So I won't repeat it. I will not. I'm not going to make a fool out of me. I know timing, and
awesome.
without timing, it is a moot point now.
That's right.
I mean, it's not even funny. It's like annoying. If you don't tell it on the time you're to tell it, which is set up, pregnant pause, boom, move on. You know, you can't wait. So I'd say, love the people first of all. For the bottom line is, you gotta like people. I heard someone say one time, I'd love the ministry if it weren't for people. And I understand that. And in my kind of ministry, I really don't have to know the people. You do. I mean, and people want to know me, and that's so unfair to them because I'm not in their neighborhood.
That's right.
Don't count on me through email or social media. I'm not gonna be your friend. I'm not gonna communicate with you. I'm not gonna visit you when you're in the hospital. You better have somebody close by doing that. And that's why the church is so important.
That's right.
But don't be in those positions if it's just a job. I mean, if you don't really like people, you really should get an honest job.
It is the mystery of people. There's no question.
Because they can be annoying. I'm not saying you have to like them all the time. And you may not even like them. You got to love them. God didn't say you had to like anybody, but you got to love people.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the story for just a second. When you're telling a story,
Okay.
what is there a sweet spot on the length? Let's talk about some of the real tactics. If I'm a worship guy sitting here going, man, help me be a better storyteller. We set up
Well,
songs
see,
all the times.
you're restricted by time.
Well, true.
I heard your pastor last week, which I
Yeah.
loved your podcast with your
Thank you. It
pastor.
was great.
I heard him say, stay in your lane. I don't sing, you don't preach.
That's right.
All right? Now,
That's
there's
right.
a difference in preaching and telling a story.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about preaching.
No,
But I
don't
tell stories all the time.
Yeah.
To give us some
tell a story. Well, I mean, like, what's the question again? Because you want a story?
Well, no, I'm asking. Give us some thoughts on how to tell a good story.
Oh, well, it's got to
Like
be
for-
interesting.
And it didn't even have to be. Let's say set up a song. Maybe that might be a
Okay.
better way. Because I remember, I think it was 2001, Mark. Your vocal band did "Is It I Still Believe" album, and I remember getting that out, that DVD, and you did a song on there called I Want You to Make It Real.
Oh,
Oh,
love it, yeah.
and I, to this day, Mark, I was sitting as a 15-year-old boy watching that DVD, watching you set that song up, being vulnerable, a little transparent, because that was such a song going, Lord, show me who you are again, right? And I remember how it affected me, and as a 15-year-old boy, I just remember going, I want to set songs up like that. Because I already had that calling on my life that I would be a musician and an artist. So
Well,
talk to
number
us about that.
Show your scars if you can. That's so compelling to people when they see, oh my gosh, they got a scar like me. They're let the people also know you're a freak just like everybody else. We're all a pack of freaks. The only difference between us and them is we got the microphone. That's it. We're all searching. We're all looking for Jesus everywhere we can, and we're trying to say, hey, I found him over here. I was thinking coming over here how the Lord has laid diamonds on my journey, and how I thought everyone was the best. And I'm thinking, this is it. When I discovered grace, I was like, oh my gosh. And I can almost go so far that nothing else matters but this, until that next diamond.
Right.
And then, so that's how it's been for me. But I just try when I discover something to take that to the stage somehow.
That's good.
To figure out a way through a story or how that happened. What's the story behind that diamond I discovered? And be excited about it, number one. Don't tell a story you're not, you can't wait to tell them. Even though I may have told a story 1,000 times, I've never told it to this audience before.
Right.
And it's like it's brand new to me too. It really is. I don't know if that's because I forget that I've already told this.
But I do think that it's important. Well, I do think it's important from the audience perspective. They feel like you're in it with them. You're not preaching to them. You're. I love the example of the diamond. You are finding it together.
Yes.
And you're kind of letting them on a secret. On a journey with you.
Yeah.
And you do that.
And you
so
want them
well.
to see it too.
That's right.
And I don't ever try to chew the food for the people. My job is not to chew your food. My job is to point out the buffet. You come make your own plate. You take what you want, you leave. I may be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm a recovering fundamentalist. I could be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong on who Jesus is. But everything else is up for grabs. I'll debate and argue and love you and disagree with you, but I can't walk with you, really.
Right.
Unless you really love Jesus too and want to find him and discover him and with me and tell me everything you know about him.
Right.
If you know something about him and you don't tell me, we will be very mad at you. You know what I mean? We share around here,
Right. That's right.
and that's what church should be too.
That's right.
And share our sins. When did we start thinking our sins were the worst ones out there? I can't share what I deal with. Man, we're all a pack of freaks. We're all waiting for the redemption of our flesh.
That's right.
We are not redeemed yet.
That's good.
And we will be. Now our inner man is being renewed and redeemed, and I believe. Who knows? What do I know? All I know is that Jesus is Lord, and I'm chasing him as fast as I can.
That's good. I love that you mentioned about the scars. One of the first things you ever told me, we were having lunch, this is maybe a couple years ago, Mark, you said, people don't care about your trophies, but when you show them your scars, they'll listen to you.
Yeah.
And I've never forgot that. And you hinted at that a while ago, but I love that idea.
Yeah.
We think that somehow it'll actually help you if you kind of
It's
puff
like
yourself up or show them what you got or whatever, but
it's
really
like Russ
is
Taff's movie. Did you see his movie?
I have not seen it, but I've heard
Well,
great
they're gonna.
things about it.
You could have Russ come here, and he and Tori come together. They're gonna show the movie. They're gonna do a little tour of that. and it is an impactful movie. Every addict should see it, and every person who knows an addict should see it, because we're all addicted to something, probably, you know. But oh my goodness, what a journey! But he shows his scars, and it's powerful.
It's gonna change lives.
Yes, it is.
That's good. So you've been in obviously songwriting, you've been in the artist world, and then of course comedy. So let's talk about comedy for a second. So have you ever taught comedy? You know, I mean, I know that's so much of a part of who you are, though. So let's say I'm a worship guy that's going, I want to develop, and I'll use myself. I certainly don't as a comedian, you know, and all my staff would concur with that. But give us some hints on how you found, or what would you say to a guy that's trying to he's not trying to be a comedian, but he is trying, there's something that happens on self-deprecating humor. You know, there's something when you don't take yourself seriously, or timing, things like that. Give us just a couple thoughts on maybe ways to grow with that.
Well, I don't really know, because I mean, I don't know how it happened with me. I come from a family of talkers, excuse me, and I've surrounded myself with funny people. I mean, all my friends are much funnier than me, and I love funny people. But I don't know, it's very dangerous to go there if you're not good at it, because you could really make a fool of yourself. And that could be funny too. You could be known as the worship leader who tells awful jokes, and everybody could look forward to that. I mean, there's extremes,
Sure.
You know, but I think when you tell a personal story, it's much better than, hey, did you hear the one about?
Yes.
I hate those anyway. Bill Gaither loves them.
And
He'll call me every time he's got a joke. And the minute he says, hey, did you hear the one about? I will try to stay with him, and I cannot. My brain says, oh, not interested, and it's off to some other part of Texas. But if it's a personal story, I think humor can be very powerful. And especially like if it happened this week to your kid,
yes.
You know, you're not going to believe what and your kid gives you permission
Yes.
to tell it.
That's good. That's good. So a couple of months ago, I was able to go for the first time. I'd never been to Alexandria, Indiana, to go to the studios, and got to spend a day with Bill Gaither, and then of course, Jay Rouse was there, and Randy Vader. We sat around and had just a great lunch and talked. And he was telling all these great stories, and we just had a great time. You have so much history in that place. You've got to tell us. Just give us a story. Give us something funny
People
that's
always
happened.
ask for that.
And you gotta give us something.
I wish I had a really
Peel the veil back a little bit.
On them?
Well, or
I mean,
not necessarily on them, but just a great.
The story that Bill loves to tell is about Russ Taff when he got locked in the bay beneath the bus. He got underneath the bus looking for his luggage, and he got in a little too far. Someone walked by and thought the door was open. They just slammed it. And Guy and David were upstairs watching some war movie with bombs going off, so they couldn't hear him banging underneath the bay. So he finally had to call somebody who called somebody, you know, to get him out of the bay. And that's kind of funny, but I guess it really isn't. What is something really funny? Well, you know, most of what was funny, I think, it happened on stage. And if it was funny off stage, like if something happened off stage that was funny, we would figure out how to get it on the stage.
So give us an example of that.
Oh gosh, I wish I should have read your notes. Okay, one time, we were in London, and Joy Gardner, who is one of the funniest humans on the planet. Oh my gosh, she's one of my dearest friends. Whenever I'm in town, I always call her to go eat lunch. We always go to the Indian restaurant and we eat lunch and catch up. But she's so funny. We were in London, and the Queen's band was out there, and she walked up, the cameras were up, or people, you know, we had our phones going, and she walked up and screamed, "Do you know Looking for a City?" to the Queen's band, right? So we go, oh my gosh, we got to use that, you know? And so Bill had me do it in one of the videos. So that happened naturally with Joy, and then we took it and used it. Oh yeah.
You know, I was talking to a group of students just last week, and we're talking about being creative, and I said most people think creative, you're waiting for this like lightning bolt to hit, and really it's really just opening your eyes and watching for the opportunity that things will happen, and you actually just connect the dots and you go, that works. Or, you know, and plug it in where you need it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Like I asked Joel Lindsay, who writes all those
Yeah,
great
of
songs.
course.
I said, Joel, are you always looking for hooks? He said, I am always looking for hooks, even when I don't want to be looking for a hook. So if you're a real songwriter, you can't help it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not. I'm always looking for fun.
Yeah.
I ain't looking for
But
hooks.
to your credit, you have written some great songs.
Well, I have wandered into a few. I wandered into one.
Yes,
I should
you did.
say.
I love when you said we were at a concert one night of the vocal band, and you said, I'd like to do a medley of my hits.
Yeah, of my hit, one hit. Well, I'm thankful that the Lord let me write one. You know, I've written others. I've written, 4 with Reba and Donnie. I don't ever write by myself because I just write words.
I know, I love that too.
But
It's so much more of an experience, I think, with people. You know, when you get around like-minded and you actually start showing scars. I actually think that's when some of the sweetest songs come. You know?
and talking. I can't get alone and just think.
Yeah.
I'm a talker. I'm a talk thinker. I call it. I don't know any other word to call it. My daddy only talked when he had something to say, and me and Mama talked until we had something to say. But eventually, it led to a good conversation. You know.
That's good. Well, I am so grateful that you
Are we
have
done?
been with us. Well, at least on this podcast.
We're gonna
I'm
keep
gonna
going. We're
keep
doing another
going.
podcast.
Thank you to all of you that
Let's
are
see what
watching.
they're
You want to give any more
Hey,
shout outs?
Patty Killinger, if you're using nasty words, you will
Tammy,
be.
that's sweet.
Uh-oh, somebody's using nasty words. Y'all don't do that. Be nice.
Let me see if there's any questions here.
Okay, let's see. How do you do that? Go back
Let's see.
up.
Go him. Let's see. No, that's not the same family who makes guitars. Let's see.
Oh, so-
Question. Let's see.
Be careful.
Yep. Let's see. Let's see if there's a good one here.
What was Howard Goodman
Yeah,
like?
that's
Who
a
asked
good one.
that?
Caleb.
Caleb. Hey,
Give us-
Caleb Bino. Is it Bino or Beno? Howard Goodman was phenomenal. He was quiet. After the concerts is when I'd usually see him because I'd run to the Goodman bus. We called it the Goodman Cafe. And Vesta would have chicken and dressing, and it'd be like Thanksgiving on the bus. But Howard would already be in his silk pajamas by the time I got there, sitting in the seat that he slept in. He did not lay down to sleep. He sat up to sleep. And he would sit there, at least that's what they told me. And he would sit there and he would already have a jar of mayonnaise in one hand and a weenie in the other, a wiener, And he would dip that hot dog in that jar of mayonnaise and eat that and told me it was good. And I told him I was here from Vestal's fried chicken
my
and
goodness.
coconut cake,
Oh my
which really,
goodness.
coconut cake was a little dry for me, but the chicken was good.
That's funny. Well, you have a lot of comments here, bud.
All right, let's do the next podcast.
I love it. I love it.
Ready? We'll just let y'all keep watching if you want to.
So we'll record intros and exits in just a minute, okay?
Yeah.
So just to give you prep, we're all prepping here. We're going to talk about Mary Did You Know?
Okay.
And the one, as to your words, the one hit. But this is going to be a special Christmas episode,
Okay.
and so this is going to actually air the week of Christmas. So I just want this to kind of let's get into that mindset. You know,
Okay.
we need a little Christmas
It's
music.
beginning of the night like Christmas.
Yes, and if you're listening, you know that voice probably. That is Mark
Johnny
Lowry.
Mathis.
Yeah, did you see how I did that?
Everywhere we go.
That's
Remember
pretty
him?
good. I certainly do. Certainly
I
do. I
love
only
him.
listen to him once a year, but but you know that voice. Mark Lowry is back with us on this special Christmas week episode. And Mark, it's great to have you back.
Thank
Love
you,
your
John.
ministry. You've ministered to so many through the years, especially leaders in the church. Not just the church itself, but the leaders in the church. And so
Oh.
I speak for so many when I say thank you for your ministry.
Wow.
I truly
Thank
mean
you.
that. Truly
that means
mean
a
that.
lot coming from leaders.
Well, I certainly do mean that. One of the things I want to do today that's going to be kind of special is talk about a Christmas song of yours that is probably, arguably, the most unique Christmas song to come out of the church. Could be the last century.
White
Mark?
Christmas.
Yeah, well, that was certainly unique, right?
Yeah. Don't you wish you'd written that one?
That is true. That's true. My statements would be a little different, right? My music said. But Mary Did You Know was something that has been so spectacular that has bridged the gap, I think, between sacred and secular that I don't know. I don't think any other Christmas song in that time period is done. It's not even close to it. I mean, truly, as you listen to the radio stations at Christmas time that we're listening to right now, you'll hear "Mary, Did You Know" everywhere, and it seems like everybody has recorded it.
Not near enough.
Well, that could be true.
You know, if I had one message I could leave to the world, that would be it. If the Lord had said, Mark, I'm going to let you write one song, and I'm going to give you 10 to choose from, I would have chosen that one. Because I believe it.
Well, you got to tell us the story behind this. I mean, I don't think if I get one request of this song a year, I get 20 requests.
Are you sick
I'm not.
of it?
No.
I can get a little sick of it.
Well, you.
No, I haven't.
No, I love it. I've sung it truly so many years, and I love it. And
have you seen all the memes that go around at Christmas?
I'm sure.
Yes, she knew. Quit asking.
I'm sure you've gotten your fair share of all that.
Yeah.
Tell us the story behind this beloved song.
Well, in 1984, my pastor called me and asked me if I would write the Christmas program for the church. And being very young in 1984 and not knowing that I couldn't, I said I would. And so I attempted to write Christmas songs, and it was my first time to ever, you know, I was a young writer and wanted to be a writer. I'd written many songs up at this point, probably 20 or 30 probably by this time, that I loved and recorded. And he thought I could do it, so I said I would, because I didn't want to let him down. And I found out I can't. And so what I did, I took secular Christmas songs for the first part, sacred for the second, and then wrote monologues to go between them. So that's all I need to do. That's what I do. But I never write mine down. I just, you know, wrote them down so someone else could memorize them and tell them.
Right.
So I wrote this one monologue before a particular song that I was doing that night, and the pastor would get back up during the invitation and repeat it and give the invitation using from memory that monologue. And so I thought that, and I knew when I wrote it, it was special. I knew, I got chills all at the right place. You know, basically it says this: I wonder if Mary realized the power and the authority and the majesty she cradled in her arms that first Christmas. I wonder if she realized those little fingers that were wrapped around hers were the same fingers that had scooped out the oceans and formed the rivers. And those little infant lips were the same lips that had spoken worlds into existence. And those tiny feet were the same feet that had walked on streets of gold and been worshipped by angels. And when Mary kissed her little boy, she wasn't just kissing another baby, she was kissing the face of God. So when that line came up, and then the deliver line, I wonder if she realized on that first Christmas, the child that she delivered will one day on the cross deliver her. And so I knew those two lines were very important. And because I'd not really heard them before. I'd not heard the deliver before.
Yes.
And then after the show was over and we'd already done it, I just thought, well, if I could have a cup of coffee with Mary, what would I ask her? And most of the questions I had for her did not make the song, just the ones that rhymed. You know, that's what you got to think about when you're writing. So they have to rhyme,
that's right.
and they have to meet her. And but I wrote that lyric, carried it around from 1984 to 1991.
Did you really?
And tried to get people to write music to it.
So tell us some of the people that you...
Babby Mason.
Yeah, sure.
Lynn
She's
Kiesecker.
She's on the board with me here, Lindy.
Lynn Kiesecker.
Yeah, sure.
Paul Johnson. I think those were the main three that I passed it by. And then I handed Buddy Green on the Gaither bus, and the rest is history.
So what was that like when you first heard that melody come back? You got to give me...
I was sitting in my home in Atlanta, where I lived at the time. And he called me, and I can tell you what I was wearing. I mean, it was that kind of moment. I'll tell you right where I was seated, and I pronounced them man and wife. I now pronounce you man and wife. Lyric and melody must merge and must marry, or you're going to lose one of the other. If one's great and the other's not, you're going to really mess up the song.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and then the first to record it was Michael English.
Yes.
The second was Kathy Mattea. The third was Kathleen Battle, an opera singer. So it went from CCM to country to opera. There's now a disco version you can watch. You can listen to if you go to iTunes and type in Christine W, the letter W. Mary, did you know? Christine, Kristinew. Mary, did you know? You can hear a disco version that's played in bars and discos all over the nation one year, and she enunciates every word. And while I was sitting in my lazy boy, I was speaking in discos from coast to coast. It's like the time I sat in my chair and watched Jordan Smith sing my words to 14 million people.
That's right.
What a blessing.
What a blessing.
Comedy has a short shelf life. Songs can live forever.
It's good, man. And that one certainly has. So we're gonna look that song. We're gonna look that version up and put it.
I love it.
in the podcast.
I thought I'd hate it, but I thought, my gosh.
You're gonna have to look that up.
Yeah.
So many have recorded it. What are some others of your favorite? The Pentatonics version I thought was so cool.
Stunning.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Stunning. One that made me weep was the Christ Church Choir version.
We've actually done that arrangement.
That arrangement, the first time I heard it, I literally was glad I was alone in my office because I just wept. I was so overcome that God let me be a part of that.
Yes.
You know, I still get overcome about it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that one, and then of course Michael's version, the first one, even though he said would instead of will. It's Mary, did you know that your baby boy will one day walk? It's not would. Would messes up the bridge.
So
it's all future. Nah, I don't care. Future tense because it still works.
That's right. That's
People
right.
don't notice it, I guess.
Right.
It's from the manger scene, the way I wrote it, you know, and it's like angels whispering in her ear, or I would be, I'm not an angel, I'd say, hey, do you realize who you've got in your lap?
Right.
And of course, the obvious answer is yes.
But at the same time, there's no way.
No. But the angel told her, you know, this is going to hurt, you know, this ain't going to be fun, and told her some things. But of course, she didn't know he would walk on water. Nobody knew he'd walk on water till he did it, you know, of course. But I'm asking the questions from this, like I would do. Isn't this the most incredible thing you've ever seen? Do you realize compressed and compacted into that 8-pound bundle is the fullness of the Godhead? Do you realize this baby uttering unintelligible baby noises in your arms is the Word of God? Do you realize you're going to teach the Word of God to talk? Do you realize you're going to teach the Word of God to walk? Do you realize you're going to feed the Word, the bread of life? You will be feeding. Nursing at your breast is God, woman. Do you realize that? That's the kind of passion I wrote it with. It's not like, hey, Mary, do you really know? I mean, you know, it's not that.
That's right.
And people who can't see that can't see real well.
That's good. Well, I love the version off of your solo album, and I'd love to play that on the podcast. Is that okay?
Which one?
Allows you to do it? Well, I know you've done. Well, the one that was actually titled "Mary, Did You Know Your?"
From the Christmas podcast.
Is that okay?
Oh yeah.
Can we do that?
Sure.
So what we're gonna do is just right out of that.
It's Gordon
we're
Moat
gonna
playing.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. And so if you're okay with that, would you allow us to do
yes,
that?
you're
Because I
welcome.
would love
Yes.
to do that.
Yes,
so
please.
we're coming right out of that song. Okay,
Okay.
does that make sense? So we're gonna.
Yeah.
It's just you're seeing behind the scenes.
We'll let you know when this podcast airs. It'll be audio, so you'll remember all this.
Yes, this will be the week of Christmas, the week before, but you can find it on Friends of First Worship, or look up my name, John Bolin.
Yeah.
So we've just-
Friends of First Worship, you can go to your podcast app and download those right now, and they're good. The previous ones, the one he did with his pastor last week, is phenomenal. I listened to that today. You can tell him from me that I approve.
I will certainly do that. So Mark Lowry gives his approval. He'll love that. So just come out of the song. So Mark, thank you very much for that song. It's ministered to millions, literally across the globe. And thank you for sharing with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for
Anything
having
else
me.
that you would say on a Christmas note to all of our listeners today?
Well, you got a new year coming right around the corner. Just be kind. and love Jesus. You know, Jesus really boiled it down to us. To make it easy, Jesus made it easier. You know, keeping the law, that's a lot. 613 of them. Who could do that? Well, Jesus did it, and he kept it, so we don't have to. And then he told us, okay, this is what all the law hangs on. Love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. And so in this new year coming up, let's all work on loving each other, and not just the family of God, loving your neighbor as yourself, and keep chasing Jesus.
I'll end right there. It doesn't even need anything other than that. So, man, that's awesome,
Thank
brother.
you. I love you guys watching. I'm going to turn you
Awesome.
off now.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.
That was fun. How do you turn there?